So remember, Coinbase is extremely cautious. They cannot list any assets that may be securities. And they talked with the SEC and then later listed XRP on Coinbase. We can see the Financial Stability Oversight Council in 2019, their annual report classifies XRP as a currency. Funny enough, Clayton, as chairman of the SEC, voted to approve the report and signed it. What's up guys, Kevin Cage here with another cryptocurrency update. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the executive order that was just signed on Wednesday to examine the risks and benefits of crypto assets. We're going to be touching on the $1 billion in Tether that was recently printed just a couple days ago, and of course now the market is seeing a bit of a retracement. I want to dive into some interesting facts shared by John E. Deaton regarding this entire Ripple vs. SEC lawsuit. We'll also be sharing Jeremy Hogan's thoughts, another respected attorney in the space, and sharing his expected timeline. And keep in mind, he says settlement can happen at any time. We'll also be talking about some tokenomics in this crypto space, the circulating supply, and its effect on price. So stick around for this one, and I hope you enjoy. First things first, everybody is terrified. I know. What's new? We can see that, again, Joe Biden signed this executive order, and the measure is going to be focused on 6 key areas: consumer protection, financial stability, illicit activity, even though there's actually more money laundering through the US dollar and fiat because it's a lot harder to track because it's not digital, US competitiveness, and I hope they really focus on this, for overall innovation, financial inclusion, and responsible innovation. Funny enough, the Biden administration also wants to explore a digital version of the dollar. Next up, we can see on Tron's blockchain, we have another $1 billion of USDT that was in fact minted just 2 days ago. We're also going to be talking about FinCEN when they sued Ripple, and then FinCEN called XRP a virtual currency, not a security. Now, Ripple actually paid and settled about $700,000 in, I think, 2015. I'll show you that in this video. And at the end of the day, this is a drop in the bucket. Look at 6 of the largest Wall Street banks paid almost $200 billion for settlements shared by Status. And they continued to run their business as usual. The SEC just getting their slice of the pie. And there will be more crypto-based or blockchain-based companies that are sued by the SEC. Of course, the bigger they get, the more enticing it is. But Ripple, one of the most transparent and regulatory proactive fintech companies, was stopped by corrupt government agency, the SEC. We can see comparing some banks, Bank of America, which is RippleNet, we have Citi, we have Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Morgan Stanley, and Wells Fargo. Roughly $200 billion in settlements. And this was last updated in 2020. So let's speed through this, and I highly recommend following John E. Deaton 1 on Twitter. So back in February 2012, we have 2 well-known individuals, Jesse Powell, who also invested in Ripple early on, the CEO of Kraken today, and of course Jed McCaleb, one of the founders of the XRP ledger, and now he is leading the Stellar Development Foundation. They received a legal opinion from Perkins. Now look into this group. This is an absolute huge organization, informing them if they sell XRP to investors and use that money to really fund their operational costs, XRP will likely be determined an investment contract or a security. And I absolutely agree. And the funny thing is that Ethereum did a lot of similar things, yet it got the free pass thus far. So after receiving this legal opinion above, we have Chris Larson and Jed McCaleb. They scrapped the old business model and instead seek VC funding for business operations. Again, investors will not receive XRP, but instead receive actual shares of the stock of the company, receiving equity in Ripple. Going by the book. Back in 2012, in talks with regulators. We even have clips of David Short, CTO of Ripple, saying, yes, we are on a regular basis every week or two discussing with the SEC to make sure that we are fully compliant and transparent and actively working with them to seek regulatory clarity. That's all we're asking for. Fast forward a little bit to 2015, we have FinCEN, and they literally call XRP and they classify it as a virtual currency, not a security. Ripple settled it for $700K and agreed to register sales with FinCEN going forward, because FinCEN actually declared a subsidiary of Ripple a money service business. Interesting. Now fast forward to today, shared by King Solomon, some of the patents regarding Novati, a massive RippleNet user, a massive ODL user, I should say, that uses XRP. And all the other interesting patents of XRP being trialed by some of the central banks, but even just regular everyday financial institutions. Other banks are paying $200 billion, Ripple just a slap on the wrist for $700K, and then the SEC doesn't come after them until they are much, much bigger. So keep in mind that Ripple was complying with banking laws of the United States. And then later on, in 2018, we can see through the SEC's own analysis, it actually did not conclude XRP was a security. But in 2018, everything changed forever with the Hinman speech and, of course, even calling Ethereum a commodity on news. Now, of course, this didn't necessarily reflect the thoughts of these organizations, but keep in mind, the market as a whole, when you hear this announcement on the news saying Ethereum's a commodity, that's usually enough for people to have full faith in an asset. Maybe not enough for the institutional side, but for the retail side, they acted like it was. So I highly recommend watching all these videos shared by Digital Asset Investor and a lot of the great people in the XRP community. Notice that Hinman only blessed Bitcoin and Ethereum in a speech back in 2018. And friendly reminder, you can see the public calendar of the SEC. Brad Garlinghouse and of course David Schwartz, they met with Clayton and Hinman to discuss XRP, and Brad informed them Ripple is living in purgatory over XRP's lack of clarity. And guess what? If you have a vested interest in Ethereum, that's exactly where you want XRP to be. So anyways, it gets super interesting. I'll keep speeding through this. Remember back in 2019, the SEC allowed Ripple to acquire a 9% stake in MoneyGram. And now friendly reminder, Alex Holmes, CEO of MoneyGram, because I see so much ridiculous FUD from cartoon characters on Twitter. MoneyGram was utilizing XRP, the digital asset, actual utility on the back end for foreign exchange. And he also said on the news, after mentioning XRP for that use case, that yes, we're also leveraging XLM of Stellar. And that's for the front-end customer-facing side. So just a friendly reminder for anybody new that thinks it's only going to be one crypto that wins. In reality, there's going to be a few dozen chains in the future. And so I hold several. I don't want to hold, 100 assets because I think that will lower your overall ROI. But yes, I am a big believer in holding, 3 to 10 assets that you wholeheartedly believe in for the long term. And of course, finding an entry is a whole nother story. In 2019, Coinbase meeting with the SEC, Coinbase and its sophisticated securities lawyers informed the SEC they determined today's XRP not to be a security. Now keep in mind, I actually think XRP was a security in the beginning, but where have we heard? Let's see, Christopher Giancarlo of the CFTC formerly, and now he's on the board of directors for Ripple. We have Rosie Rios, the 43rd treasurer of the United States, on the board of directors. She says it's one of the most legitimate cryptocurrencies in the space. All of these people essentially giving clarity, backgrounds at the SEC, the CFTC, even the OCC with Brian Brooks back in the day. All of these heavy hitters, not just people on YouTube, not just people on Twitter, essentially saying, yes, assets can actually transform. They could be a security at one point, but if they change the structure and fix some things, they can entirely transform into a commodity or a currency. And this is what a lot of us in the XRP community believe. I can easily argue, and I hold Ethereum, I love it, I think it's here to stay. And I know you can complain about gas fees, but I cannot deny the integrations and the amount of building on it. I think Ethereum was a security, or at least sold as a security at certain points early on. So remember, Coinbase is extremely cautious. They cannot list any assets that may be securities. And they talked to the SEC and then later listed XRP on Coinbase. Isn't that interesting? Coinbase listed XRP in February of 2019. And then of course with this lawsuit that came in 2020, they removed it to cover themselves, just like most exchanges in the United States. And also, what I find absolutely fascinating is, guys, XRP reached $3.84 on the highest exchange years ago in 2018. Since then, it's been delisted by a variety of exchanges. It's being sued by the SEC, and it's still ranked number 6 after a huge bull run. Bitcoin was around 10K just a couple years ago. Everything went on a parabolic run. XRP has not even surpassed its all-time high. So while many people continue to go after assets that have done a 500x, and I'm not exaggerating, go look at the history of any chart you want. Look at assets from the all-time low. There are many that have done a 100x, 500x, unless you're Terra Luna and you're on your way to doing a 1000x. Do you really think it's that crazy for the probability of XRP long-term to surpass an all-time high price, or at the very least reach some of these golden extensions? Ethereum reached golden extensions. Ethereum reached some of the golden extensions that I plot. I think a lot of people are looking at this asset class today with a short-term mindset. I don't know many other assets that would still remain in the top 10 after being dragged out and sued and badmouthed and being the black sheep of crypto and being an asset that has survived and been around since 2013. And we've seen in patents with the largest central banks and of course credit card issuers in the world. Also, that was shared by King Solomon, another must follow. We can see the Financial Stability Oversight Council in 2019, their annual report classifies XRP as a currency. Funny enough, Clayton, as chairman of the SEC, voted to approve the report and signed it. Hypocrisy. It bothers me. There's just so many things. I highly recommend going through this thread and then looking above and beyond this. I know many XRP community members already know this, but it just goes so incredibly deep. Here's Christopher Giancarlo, who I referenced earlier, the former CFTC chairman, on the board of directors for Ripple. Of course, he says XRP is not a security. Now, to go over another superstar, Jeremy Hogan. Now remember, this is not financial advice, but these are the experts in the space. When will the Ripple vs. SEC case end? Of course, I've never been one to say it's going to happen tomorrow. I say it's going to happen when it happens. I believe in XRP for the long term. If you don't, that's completely fine. You holding it doesn't do me any favors. Somebody or retailers buying a couple $1,000s is not going to move the price for me. I couldn't care less. I am betting on the long-term adoption and utility of this network because if it survives, it will absolutely thrive. We've had some of the leading crypto hedge funds in the space, some of the biggest names, such as Dan Morehead, saying, yes, XRP will be here in 10 years and still be in the top 10. So if you think that crypto is going to explode with the metaverse, NFTs, and reach 10 trillion, 15 trillion, 50 trillion, or $100 trillion in the years or decades ahead, what do you think any asset in the top 10 would be valued at? What do you think their market cap would be? Bitcoin reached $1 trillion market cap in the past. Ethereum will too. And yes, I believe XRP does with ease. And if you don't think so, I think you really underestimate how big payments are, how big overall even micro payments are, and all these new use cases that are being developed. Also, Anders L., I like the potential symbiosis between standard custody and Ripple's liquidity hub. Ripple's liquidity hub, in my opinion, is going to be key infrastructure. Or, of course, XRP. And please recall standard custody connected to BNY Mellon, the former retired vice chairman on the board next to David Schwartz and Arthur Brito, responsible for custodying 1/4 of the world's wealth. So Jeremy Hogan, Ripple thinks it will end sometime between August 26th and November 18th of this year. Fingers crossed for that. It has been a ride. I remember in November 2020, I was talking with Anders L about this, the FUD on Twitter of XRP gas and saying XRP is going to zero. And if you want to look at the price of XRP, November 2020, let's take a look, because this is when I saw dozens of people saying, I'm selling XRP, it's a scam. Let's look at the price. All the FUD came out right here, November 2020. It exploded from 24 cents all the way to 80 cents. I'm assuming the people that probably sold their bags down here probably bought back and FOMO'd in at 50 cents or 80 cents, really losing their position altogether. And then what happened after that? SEC lawsuit came out right on December 20th, the 21st, the winter solstice, and XRP crashed all the way and closed a gap that we had at 1776, 17 cents. We had a gap on the chart back at these levels. Isn't that strange? Is that a coincidence to you? And then, of course, after that, we went on a heck of a rally all the way to almost $2. This is how the game is played. It is literally just betting on retail's emotion. And of course, it's easy to see after the fact and make sense of it, but the challenge is looking forward and trying to do our best to gauge the future of this asset. So in its pending class action, Ripple agreed to move the SEC start back to November 18th in belief that the SEC case will be finished before then. Of course, it can settle at any time. So links here, I also retweeted it. It is Attorney Jeremy 1. Also, CVS eyes the metaverse with 4 NFT-related trademarks. This is happening. More of these institutions are getting patents and trademarks in the blockchain space. Remember, Bank of America, even the country China, have some of the highest number of blockchain patents. And this is dating back to, 2018, 2017, because they knew what was coming. And if anybody's watching this and you still think blockchain's a fad, why on earth did Facebook change their name to Meta? And do you want to know the core infrastructure for this whole metaverse? Whether you like it or not, it's all Web3 infrastructure. It's going to be built on crypto technology entirely. It's all going to be built on distributed ledger technology. Some will require crypto, other networks may not. But the point is, this is the wave. We have Crypto Eddie sharing this in quotes from Linda Jones on episode 1005. Trillions and probably quadrillions of dollars worth. When you add in the derivatives, that market is, obviously trillions, arguably. On the low end back in the day it was 600 trillion. Now it's well over 1.4 quadrillion dollars with a Q. And I know that number sounds made up, but please just look into the derivatives market. Google it after this video. Could travel across the XRP ledger and use XRP, the native asset, as the bridge between currencies of any value. Also, Microsoft is job posting for big crypto ambitions going forward. And of course, we already saw all these other organizations that we shared experimenting and getting into crypto. Now, a little perspective for anybody losing faith, because I was here in March 2020. I was here in early 2017 as well, although I wasn't that heavy in the market, unfortunately. And I do video blogs and not really trade journals. I know a lot of people do that, but I actually did some video blogs, only 1 or 2, in March 2020, filming myself, talking about my emotional mind state, where I think the market's going to go, where I was right, where I was wrong. And I studied my emotional psychology at that time. And I'm telling you, this feels just like 2020. It really does. It has that same sentiment. Now the question is, where's the bottom and when are we going to turn around for good? And for perspective, when you look at a crypto price chart, the XRP price chart, any asset that you're interested in, if you simply just go to tradingview.com, linked in the video description, completely free, and look at all the history, not just on the 4-hour price chart, looking at this little section, look at all of the data. So this is Chainlink. Remember, back in 2018, its previous all-time high to its all-time low, just drawing a fib retracement, that's it. From the high to the low, it took 500 days from this level until it broke through and created a new high. Can you imagine someone buying here and just waiting hundreds of days, losing faith, selling, giving up, only to watch Chainlink explode? From its all-time low price, it did over a 300x, a 300x return. $1,000 turns into $300,000. Now keep in mind, it takes time for assets to mature. Chainlink, like many assets, had that impulse all the way to my top 34 extension. Many wicks on this level, candle bodies closing even above it. So 500 days in this level, and then from here all the way to this level, that was 1,200 days. So my question to you is, are you in an asset that you've only been holding that you believe will be here, not just some scam project, an actual legitimate asset that's future-proofing? Have you been in it for 50 days? Have you been holding it for 400 days? Are you losing faith? Because if you're only confident when your asset is going up in price, you're not going to make it. This space is designed to drive you insane. Only the hardest and the strongest people that continue to do their own research on the difficult days actually wield these profits. And I know we hear some stories on TikTok from somebody buying an NFT and making 100K, or, getting into Shiba or Doge early. And although it's entirely possible to get a 100x return, I think it's setting a lot of false expectations for the space. And I'm not a fortune teller, but the best thing that helps me personally is looking at all the history of a chart. Look at what it did in the past. That is really our best guess. Of course, we can look at geopolitical events. We can speculate as much as we'd like. But at the end of the day, I'm betting off historical data. Looking at different trends, looking at ascending channels, seeing how long certain assets went up in price, seeing the effects of price when they're listed on certain exchanges, seeing how news affects certain projects, maybe when staking is announced. Watch the circulating supply. Look at the past. If you start doing that, that's going to put you so much further ahead of somebody that just got into this market 6 months ago. In 2018, a lot of us kept buying the top, and then markets crashed 80 or even 90%. And very few of us actually lasted and stayed, because we usually sell down here, and then we come back and look at the price and go, wow, if I just simply held and DCA'd and waited, I would have been so much better off. But I didn't have that foresight. I missed tons of assets. I've been in crashes before. It's not fun. And so this is just coming from me. I've made the mistakes, but I've also had the successes. So I hope this helps. In other news, we have shared by Blockworks, Spain's largest bank, Santander. And they're actually one of the earliest Ripple partners, or banks that signed on to RippleNet early on to offer loans backed by crypto assets in Argentina. Argentina, another country getting hit by inflation the last several years, and I actually lived in Argentina for a short period of time. I witnessed it firsthand and actually worked there in international trade. These loans will be backed by tokens based on agricultural products such as soybeans, corn, and wheat. This is the future, and this is some of the benefits of crypto. And don't get caught in the illusion that all crypto is a scam and just a hype bubble, because this is the same thing that happened in the dot-com bubble. People underestimated and talked about the internet thinking it was a joke. In the 90s, yeah, right. Why would I go on the internet why would I send an email when I can just make a phone call? Why would I do this when I can just do that? Of course, 20 years, 30 years later, everything's obvious. So what could we be looking at today where the dreamers are actually going to be right long term? Also, for XLM, we can see the Stellar Development Foundation made a statement on today's executive order directing a first-of-its-kind government-wide strategy for digital currencies. We also had 186 million XRP being moved by exchanges. What's going on? Next up, for HBAR, another one of my favorites in this entire space for the long term, because I do believe it's going to be a behemoth. Hashexis uses the Hedera token service combined with native atomic swap and royalty functionalities on Hedera to mint, manage, and trade NFTs. If you have not looked into NFTs deeply, it's much more than just silly JPEGs. This can be anything and make anything a non-fungible token, just like Casper's working on actual patents and patenting all kinds of intellectual property. Hedera is going to be huge for NFTs. Why? Because it's essentially a free network. It can scale infinitely. And it's backed by Google, Boeing, some of the biggest titans of industry. And this is what I want to emphasize. Royalty functionalities. This is going to be so profitable for a lot of these companies. So keep an eye on Hashexis, and this is powered by Hedera, and this is an NFT marketplace, and it's public beta still. Next up, by Rath Economy, the Global Blockchain Business Council of 2021 annual report talks about Zang tokenizing carbon credits on the XRP ledger with the United Nations. Again, XRP mentioned specifically the XRP ledger right here, highlighted with carbon credit solutions. So not financial advice, but there is utility in this ecosystem. And I am betting that the green blockchains will be victorious. What are the green blockchains? The layer 1s? What are the green blockchains? Anything that is highly efficient. Keep in mind, API 3 and QNT are chain agnostic. They can go on any blockchain. We have DAG, essentially free, highly efficient. XRP, completely green energy, highly efficient. Algorand, XLM, Casper, HBAR, you name it. All these assets have been built with energy consumption in mind. Also, good news for HBAR. We can see in 2022, we are proud to announce that we'll be integrating HBAR on Ledger. We also have Elrond, Solana, CeeLo, we have Crypto.com, and Cardano. And you can always keep an eye on the GitHub of Ledger headquarters itself. I know we've seen some articles about NASDAQ. Experts say a crypto market crash is coming. We have some truth shared by David Morgan. Central banks fund all sides of every war. They never lose. Also, for anybody in New York, all New Yorkers that are having issues finding an exchange where you can actually purchase HBAR, check this out. Shared by Hedera. FYI, New Yorkers looking to buy HBAR to power their decentralized applications can use Bitstamp. They have a bit license. Guess who else has a bit license? Ripple. Hedera does not vouch for or endorse any wallet, custodian, exchange, OTC trading desk, or broker, etc. Nonetheless, very cool for Bitstamp. Also, Interledger. I know we've talked about web monetization and streaming of payments for the past several years. If you are new, look into the Interledger Foundation. This is all surrounding the XRP ledger for micropayments. David Schwartz arguably said that micropayments could be much bigger than cross-border payments. So if we're talking about the trillions of dollars in these Nostro Vostro accounts, this is just one little piece of the puzzle. Micropayments could be a different beast entirely, streaming payments in real time at a fraction of a penny. And why am I talking about Interledger ILP, really this bridge between all of these ledgers of interoperability that can complement Quant and Overledger, its OS, is because on the Interledger Foundation, of course, ties to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, whether you think that's good or bad. I'm here to make money. We also have the gentleman that architected SwiftNet himself. And this is the guy I'm referring to. So again, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. His name is Kosta Peric or Konstantin. This gentleman was the chief architect of SwiftNet. Yeah, no big deal, the backbone of the financial system. Working with Interledger, and Interledger was created by Ripple. Next up for Constellation, we can see phase 2 of our roadmap has started. This phase will ensure mainnet 2.0 is coming, is sound and secure, and will not suffer downtime that interferes with business functions. Speaking of Algorand, we can see this Algo DAO Phi in the open, and we are excited to announce that Borderless Capital has joined the seed round as a lead investor with $1 million US. Highly recommend watching these organizations. So Borderless Capital, keep in mind, accelerates the access, bootstraps, and adoption that creates value through Algorand's borderless economy. Now, Algo is one organization or crypto project that was really kind of based out of MIT, where Ripple also runs an XRP validator. And Gary Gensler, the current SEC chairman, has always spoken highly of Algo. I used to, when I was at the gym, I would watch old videos of his classes that Gary Gensler taught about blockchain at MIT, and he has always spoken highly of Algo. I always notice that. And of course, his buddy or his peer, Silvio Micali, the founder of Algorand itself. And he was the gentleman that essentially founded zero-knowledge proofs in blockchain. So whether or not you're happy with the price of most of these alts, including Algo, long-term, I think these assets are going to do exceptionally well. All right, guys, this video is getting a bit long, so I'm actually going to be touching on tokenomics and all of that in the next video. If you enjoyed this or learned anything, be sure to like and sub. Remember that all crypto resources and links that I actively use are linked in the YouTube video description. Hope you enjoyed this one, and until next time.